My girlfriend smiled. It was just one night with my celebrity crush. You always knew he was my exception. I said, that's fine, realized 4 years meant less than one concert, and walked out. Days later, she showed up crying about, I need to get this off my chest because I'm sitting in a motel room at 2 a.m. and my brain won't shut up. I'm 28M, been with my girlfriend Chloe, 27F, for 4 years. We live together, share everything, and up until 3 days ago I thought we were solid. Not perfect, but solid. Here's the thing that's been eating at me. Chloe has always been obsessed with this YouTuber musician named Jace Holloway. He's not exactly mainstream, maybe a few million views total, small but dedicated fan base. For the entire time we've been together, she's made jokes about how Jace is my exception. Like, if she ever met him, all bets were off. I laughed it off every time because, come on, what are the odds? Well, apparently the universe has a sick sense of humor. Last week, Jace announced a small tour. Nothing major, just hitting little venues in a handful of cities. And wouldn't you know it, one of those venues was about 20 minutes from our apartment. Chloe lost her mind with excitement. She bought tickets immediately and asked her coworker Maya to go with her since I had to work late that night. The show was Thursday. I kissed her goodbye around 6 p.m., told her to have fun, and settled in for a quiet night. I figured she'd be home by midnight, maybe 1 a.m. latest. Midnight came and went. No Chloe. I texted around 12:30. How was the show? Heading home soon? Nothing. Called around 1 a.m., straight to voicemail. By 2 a.m. I was genuinely worried. Had they gotten into an accident? Was she okay? I barely slept. Friday morning around 9 a.m., I heard her key in the door. She came in looking different. Disheveled but also kind of glowing? Hard to explain. She avoided eye contact, mumbled something about being tired, and headed straight for the shower. I gave her space, figured she was hungover or something, but the weirdness continued all morning. She was jumpy, couldn't sit still, kept checking her phone and smiling at it. When I asked how the show was, she just said, amazing, and changed the subject. Then around 3 p.m., she sat me down on our couch with this nervous energy radiating off her. She had this smile, not guilty, not apologetic, excited. Like she had good news to share. So, she started. You know how I've always said Jace was my exception? My stomach did a little flip, but I nodded. Well, I met him last night, after the show, and we connected. Really connected. She paused, the smile getting bigger. I slept with him. I swear to God she said it like she expected me to be happy for her. Like she'd won the lottery or gotten a promotion. There was zero remorse in her voice. Zero acknowledgement that this might hurt me. Just pure, beaming excitement. I couldn't speak for a full minute. When I finally found my voice, all I could say was, what? I know it's weird, she continued, but you've always known about my thing for Jace. I've been completely honest about it, and it was just one night. It doesn't change how I feel about us. That's when the shouting started. I'm not proud of how loud I got, but 4 years of trust just evaporated in real time. She kept insisting that I knew this was a possibility, and that she never hid anything from me, as if her constant jokes gave her a free pass to cheat. I couldn't stay in that apartment another second. I packed a bag, drove to the nearest motel, and here I am. She's been texting non-stop, but I can't even look at the messages right now. I feel like an idiot. All those times she joked about her exception, was she actually laying groundwork for this? Did she think 4 years of relationship history was worth less than one night with some musician she'd never even met? I don't know what I'm asking for here. Maybe just validation that I'm not overreacting? Because right now, I feel like my entire relationship was built on quicksand. Update 1. Well, that was a long 24 hours. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. Reading your responses helped me realize some things I couldn't see clearly while my world was imploding. The biggest revelation came from a comment that basically said, celebrity exceptions are jokes precisely because they're impossible. The moment it becomes possible, it's just cheating. That hit me like a freight train. All those years of joking about her exception were only harmless because Jace Holloway was effectively fictional to our relationship, an untouchable fantasy. The second he became accessible, The joke died, and the betrayal began. I spent yesterday afternoon reading through her old texts about Jace, and honestly, the signs were there. She wasn't just casually attracted to him, she was obsessed. She knew his tour schedule, his personal social media updates, even what coffee shops he frequented when he was in LA. This wasn't fangirl appreciation. This was a woman who had been actively hoping for an opportunity. Around 6 p.m. yesterday, I finally worked up the nerve to text her. Not to reconcile, just to ask one simple question. Did you ask for my permission before you slept with him? Her response came back within minutes. I thought you understood. I've been telling you about Jace for years. I thought this was something we both accepted might happen. I stared at that text for probably 10 minutes. The audacity was breathtaking. She was trying to rewrite 4 years of history to make her betrayal my fault. Like her constant jokes about Jace somehow constituted informed consent for infidelity. I texted back. Making jokes about a celebrity crush isn't the same as agreeing to an open relationship. You know that. It wasn't supposed to be a big deal. It was just one night with someone I'll probably never see again. Why are you making this about our relationship? That last part broke something in me. She was treating our 4-year relationship like it was separate from her choices. Like she could compartmentalize cheating as long as it was with the right person. As if the betrayal didn't count because she'd been honest about wanting it. I realized something. Chloe wasn't apologetic because she didn't think she'd done anything wrong. In her mind, she'd followed the rules of a game I never agreed to play. She'd convinced herself that her transparency about wanting Jace somehow negated the need for my actual consent. The more I think about it, the more I see how calculated this was. She didn't stumble into this situation. She engineered it. She bought tickets the moment the tour was announced. She brought Maya as cover. She had already decided what she would do if the opportunity arose, and when it did arise, she didn't hesitate. Not for a second did she think, wait, I should call Ethan, or maybe I should go home and discuss this first. She saw her chance and took it, then came home expecting me to celebrate her good fortune. I keep going back to that smile she had when she told me. Pure joy. No conflict, no guilt, no recognition that she'd just blown up our life together. Just excitement about finally getting what she wanted. I'm still in the motel, by the way. The thought of going back to that apartment makes me physically sick. Everything there feels contaminated now. Our bed, our couch, even the coffee maker she was so excited to use Friday morning after her amazing night. I know some of you are going to ask if I've talked to her since yesterday's text exchange. I haven't, but she's still messaging me. The tone has shifted from defensive to pleading. She wants to work through this and find a way forward. But here's what she's not saying. She's not saying she regrets it. Because she doesn't. She got exactly what she wanted. Edit. A lot of you are pointing out that this wasn't spontaneous. She planned this. You're absolutely right. I've been too generous calling it a mistake when it was clearly a calculated decision. Edit 2. Someone asked if she's tried calling. She has, but I'm not ready for that conversation yet. Text gives me time to think before responding. Edit 3. To answer the common question, no. I never had an exception list. The whole concept felt disrespectful to our relationship, which is probably why I never took hers seriously. Update 2. I went back to the apartment this afternoon to get more clothes and some work stuff. I wasn't planning to have a long conversation with Chloe, but she was waiting for me when I walked in. She looked like she hadn't slept much, which honestly gave me a tiny bit of satisfaction. At least one of us was suffering. She started talking the moment I walked through the door. Apologizing, explaining, bargaining, the whole performance. But what struck me wasn't what she was saying, it was what she wasn't saying. She kept apologizing for hurting me and making a mistake, but never once did she say she regretted sleeping with Jace. I let her talk for a few minutes, then asked her to walk me through Thursday night step by step. I needed to understand exactly how this happened. Here's what I learned. The show ended around 10:45 p.m. Maya was ready to leave, but Chloe said she wanted to stick around to see if she could meet Jace. Maya left. Smart woman, honestly. Chloe waited outside the venue with maybe a dozen other fans. When Jace came out, instead of the usual quick photo and go routine, he apparently was in a social mood. He invited a few people, including Chloe, to a small after-party at a bar down the street. It wasn't supposed to go anywhere, she insisted. I just wanted to talk to him. But he was so different from his online persona, more real, more intimate. And he was paying attention to me specifically. She described how they talked for hours about music, about life, about how his art had impacted her, how he made her feel seen and understood in a way that felt rare, how when he suggested going back to his hotel, it felt like the natural progression of a deep connection. I thought about texting you, she said, and my heart jumped for a second. But I knew you'd tell me not to, and I'd never get this chance again. That sentence broke me. She had thought of me, had considered my feelings, and then deliberately chose to ignore them. This wasn't a moment of passion where she forgot about our relationship. It was a calculated decision to prioritize her desire over my trust. I asked her the question that had been burning in my chest. If I had an exception and the opportunity came up, would you be okay with me doing what you did? Without hesitation. That's not the same thing. Why isn't it the same? Because you don't have someone like Jace. You've never talked about anyone the way I talk about him. The double standard was staggering. In her mind, her betrayal was justified because her attraction was stronger than any I might hypothetically have, as if the depth of her infatuation somehow made the cheating more acceptable. We went in circles for another hour. She kept trying different angles, minimizing it. It was just physical. Contextualizing it. You knew this could happen. Bargaining. I'll never listen to his music again. But the core issue remained unchanged. She wanted me to accept that her desire for this man superseded our relationship agreements. Finally, she played what I think she thought was her trump card. Please don't throw away 4 years over one night. Don't let one mistake destroy everything we've built. That phrase, one night, hit me like ice water, because in that moment, I realized she was telling me exactly how she saw our relationship. 4 years of love, trust, shared dreams, and commitment was worth exactly one night of excitement with someone she found more interesting than me. She wasn't sorry about the betrayal. She was sorry about the consequences. She wasn't mourning the loss of our trust. She was frustrated that I wasn't just getting over it. I packed my stuff in silence after that. She followed me around the apartment, still talking, still explaining, still trying to find the magic words that would reset everything. But all I could think about was that smile she had Friday afternoon when she told me. Pure, unguarded happiness about devastating the most important relationship in her life. When I got to the door with my bags, she grabbed my arm. Ethan, please. I love you. I chose you for 4 years. Doesn't that count for something? I looked at her and realized she was right about one thing. She had chosen me for 4 years. But the moment someone more exciting became available, that choice evaporated. I wasn't her partner. I was her safe option. The person she settled for until something better came along. I'm writing this from my buddy Tyler's couch. Tomorrow I'm calling our landlord to figure out how to get my name off the lease. This isn't something you work through. This is something you survive and learn from. The crazy part? I think she still believes she can fix this. Her texts tonight are all about counseling, about rebuilding trust, about how this doesn't define us. But she's missing the point entirely. This absolutely defines us. It defines exactly what our 4 years meant to her. Edit. Yes. I know I should have seen this coming based on her obsession level. Hindsight is 20/20, but I trusted her. That's on me for being naive. Edit 2. Tyler has been amazing through this. Having a friend who just listens without trying to fix everything has been invaluable. Edit 3. For those asking, no, I'm not interested in revenge or trying to contact Jace. This is about my relationship with Chloe, not him. He doesn't owe me anything. Final update. This is my final update, and honestly, I'm writing it because karma worked faster than I ever imagined. But more than that, I think there's a lesson here that might save someone else from making the same mistakes I did. So here's what happened. Yesterday morning, Chloe showed up at Tyler's door completely unannounced. I almost didn't let her in, but she looked absolutely broken. Not the confident, glowing woman who'd told me about her magical night with Jace. She looked hollow. The story she told me was almost predictable in its cruelty. Remember how she described that incredible connection with Jace? How meaningful their conversation was? how he made her feel seen and understood. Well, she thought it was real enough to reach out to him afterward. She found his personal Instagram and messaged him the day after I moved out. Something about how incredible their night was and how she chose him over her boyfriend. She actually thought he'd be flattered, maybe even interested in continuing whatever they'd started. He never responded. Didn't follow her back, didn't acknowledge her existence. To him, she was exactly what she actually was, a random fan he slept with after a show. One night among probably dozens of similar nights on his tour. Completely forgettable. But it gets worse. She waited 3 days, then tried messaging him again with some casual comment about his tour. Nothing. So she started leaving comments on his public posts, trying to remind him who she was. He blocked her. Sitting there on Tyler's couch, watching her fall apart, I finally understood what had really happened. The deep connection she felt, the intimacy, the sense that she was special. It was all in her head. She was a groupie who got lucky, and he moved on without a second thought. I thought it meant something, she kept saying. I thought he saw something in me. I gave up everything for one night with him, and it meant nothing to him. And that's when it clicked for me. She was finally experiencing what I felt when she told me about Jace. The realization that someone you loved and trusted thought you were disposable. Except she'd brought it on herself. I should probably feel sorry for her, but mostly I just felt empty. This woman had destroyed our 4-year relationship for someone who forgot her name by the time he reached the next city. She begged me to take her back. Promised she understood now how much she'd hurt me, how wrong she'd been, how she'd never do anything like this again. But here's what I realized. She wasn't sorry about betraying me. She was sorry about being betrayed herself. If Jace had responded to her messages, if he'd shown continued interest, would she be at Tyler's door crying about our relationship? Not a chance. She'd probably be planning her next trip to meet up with him. She only cared about our 4 years together when her backup plan evaporated. I told her I was done. Completely, finally done. Getting my name off the lease, splitting our shared finances, and once I collect my remaining stuff, I'm blocking her everywhere. You can't just throw away 4 years, she said, echoing her plea from before. But I realized something important. I'm not throwing away 4 years. I'm refusing to waste any more time on someone who threw away 4 years for one night of feeling special. The difference is crucial. She made the choice that ended our relationship the moment she decided her excitement was more important than my trust. Everything that happened after, the fighting, the moving out, the tears, that's just the consequence of her decision, not mine. Here's what I learned through this whole nightmare, and what I wish I'd understood 4 years ago. Exceptions, in relationships, aren't cute or funny. They're warnings. When someone repeatedly tells you they'd be willing to cheat under certain circumstances, believe them. And when those circumstances arise, don't act surprised when they do exactly what they said they would. Chloe didn't betray me on Thursday night. She warned me about this betrayal for 4 years, and I chose not to listen because I loved her more than I respected her words. That's a mistake I won't make again. The hardest part of all this wasn't even the cheating itself. It was realizing I'd been settling for being someone's backup plan while thinking I was their first choice. She kept me around because I was safe, reliable, consistent. But the moment someone exciting became available, that safety meant nothing. I've spent a lot of time this week thinking about what I actually want in a relationship, and it's pretty simple. I want to be chosen. Not tolerated, not settled for, not kept around as insurance. I want someone who's as excited about building a life with me as I am with them. So that's my story, Reddit. Thank you for all your support, advice, and reality checks throughout this mess. I'm moving back in with my parents for a few months while I figure out my next chapter. But for the first time in a week, I actually feel hopeful about the future. Some lessons are expensive. This one cost me a 4-year relationship and a lot of self-respect. But it taught me something invaluable. I deserve to be someone's first choice, not their backup plan. And somewhere out there is a woman who won't need a celebrity exception, because she'll be too busy choosing me every day. Peace out. Our relationship Kosh advice. You've been amazing. Edit. This is really my final update. I won't be responding to DMs about this situation or continuing the story. Time to focus on moving forward. Edit 2. For those asking about Jace, I'm sure he's a decent guy who was just doing what musicians do on tour. This isn't about him. He never owed either of us anything. Edit 3. The lease situation is handled. The landlord was understanding and is letting me transfer to a month-to-month while Chloe finds a new place or roommate. Clean break. Final edit. Thanks for the gold and all the support. If my story helped even one person recognize red flags in their own relationship, then something good came from this mess. Take care of yourselves.